Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Today I want to share with you a very sentimental project and a video that I made of the project, and it's in honor of my mom. This week it's 5 years since she's been gone, and I wanted to do something in her honor to try to incorporate things that she loved, things that reminds me of her, and it actually turned out quite nice. So I decided to edit and share this video with you. So let's get started. I'm working here on a chipboard instead of a canvas, just because I don't really like working on canvases for some reason. So I just got a heavyweight chipboard to size 8 by 12 inches. And what I decided to do is to create some of my texture using cutouts. Now this shape is called Xoxo, also known as the hand of Fatima. And for those of you who is not familiar with it, it's a very old amulet of magical protection, basically. And it's very big in a lot of cultures, basically against the evil eye, and it gives blessing to the home and, you know, whatever. But my mom used to really like to make those, actually out of wood. She used to take bases out of wood and cover them with napkins and crackle paste and all kinds of jams and flowers. And this is a really vivid memory for me of her. I think it was like 2000. It was really big here, and I remember her love doing that. So I thought it would be really cool. Also, another thing that she really loved was elephants, and in honor of that, I designed and cut an elephant stencil, a very geometrical, modern. I really like the way it turned out. So after I glued everything down and covered it with 2 layers of gesso, I'm just basically positioning my stencil and marking where I'm going to add it. I'm going to add it last because I want to do it with colored paste and not the other way around of first putting paste and then adding the colors. So I'm just marking where I'm going to put the stencil, so now I can work on the background and leave an area that is fairly in the same level. I'm just going around with some modeling paste, and I'm just adding some texture here and there around my focal point, which will be the elephant. And now you can see that the marking really helped me know where to place the stencil. The next step that I'm doing is adding some crackle paint. Now this is by Media Art, Deco Media, yeah, Deco Art Media. And I actually really like their crackle paint. It's cheap and it works really well with a heat tool, which is very good for me because I don't have the patience to leave it dry overnight like some other brands. So that is something that I really like. So I put all over. Some places I added more of the material, and in other areas I kept it really light because I wanted to be really subtle. And now comes the fun part, which is starting to add the color. Now I decided not to go with my traditional colors. Everyone has those colors that they just love, and the ones that they grab on first. So I decided to try to do something else, to work with colors that I don't usually work with. So right now it looks really scary, this red. I sprayed it on and I was a bit nervous, but as you know, everything is fixable. And if you make something that you don't really love, you can either continue working on it until you do, or dry it off and just cover it with gesso and start again. So I try not to get too worried about that. Now you just see me adding more and more colors. I really wanted to take it very dark and rich colors and a lot of effect of the paint. So I did like a combination of techniques with the mists. I sprayed them on, I used a brush, I splattered a little bit and let it drip, and it turned out really nice. All I can tell you that when you work with mists, just have fun, because I think that's the point of this paint. Now that it's dry, I wanted to try something I thought about for a while, which is basically how to set the mists. Now, you probably know that mist will continue react to water even after they dry. And that is really nice a lot of the times, because it gives us the option to create really cool effects on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's really hard to work with them as a base when you want to continue and add stuff and create a lot of layers. So I thought to try and use a hairspray as a fixative for the mists. I do use it as a fixative for mica powders and stuff like that, but with mists, I just never tried that before. So this was a perfect opportunity. And as you can see, I'm adding a really heavy coat. I can say, like, it was really wet. And after it completely dried, it did this amazing shine to the colors. It actually made them much richer. It did give like a glossy or semi-glossy finish to everything, which is not everyone likes. But it worked really good here. I was really happy. Now that everything is semi-set, I can tell you that this experiment was maybe 80% success, because I'm not completely sure, to be honest, that it creates like a sealed barrier of the colors, but it does work. It does work. Like, I don't know how to explain it, as you can hear, but basically it works. So what I'm trying to do here is to soften the background a bit. Everything came out really dark, which is cool, but it was too dark for me. So I decided to go with basically white mists. Now, I started with the Ranger Delusion ink spray, the white linen, which was nice but wasn't as pigmented as I wanted. And then I switched to the Lindy's side chalk, which is completely matte, and that one was much more visible, much more noticeable. So the effect in the end is subtle, but it gave a lot to the background. So I highly recommend, when working with very pigmented color or dark color, just add some white, something to make it a little bit more relaxed. So in this point, I think my background is done, at least for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my stencil with my homemade paste. Now this paste, if you saw the last video, the rusted heaven, this was the patina paste, basically the last one that I added. So if you guys want to know how I made it, you can go and check that video in the end. And I decided to make it more convenient for me to put it in jars, all the colors, for future uses. So basically what I do, I go very generously and heavily on all over the stencil, because I cut it out of thin paper. It's not plastic, it's not anything that's going to be reused again. It made it really gentle. So I decided to go heavily on it and not move it too much. But as you can see, it looks really nice. For a homemade stencil, it looks awesome. So while my paste is drying, I'm starting to pick up the background, because I have a lot going on in the background, but right now everything is kind of flat, nothing is raised, and that's because of the colors. The colors are very dark, so I need to add a lot of light colors, especially on the high areas, to raise them up. I'm doing it here with the Inca Gold in two colors, and with the pan pastel, which is basically a very fine and expensive eyeshadow. No, I'm kidding. I'm not sure it will work with eyeshadow, although I don't see why not, but obviously it's meant for art. People do really amazing things with these colors. So, but what I'm doing here is really simple. I love this technique. I do it a lot. It's just I'm picking up some color on my finger, especially with the Inca because it's wet. It's a wax. Notice not to have too much on your finger, and I'm just rubbing. I'm going through all of my raised areas really lightly. I don't add any pressure, and as you can see, it really defines everything and it makes everything pop, and that is exactly what I was going for. After my paste was dried, I decided to go over it as well because it was really textured. It has grains in it, so it's not a smooth paste. I thought that it will be cool to just to bring the background to the elephant as well. So I'm doing the exact same thing I did with the background, and finally adding some outer glow with the pan pastel, outlining the shape. To make everything look a little bit more finished, I just took the Prima edger and just went over all the edges, all the sides. And that's it. Well, I hope guys you enjoyed today's project. It was really fun and emotional for me to make, but also kind of therapeutic, I have to admit. I always say that art is a form of therapy, and here I think it's a perfect example of how much is true. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, anything you want in the comment section below. Also, if you learned something new or got inspired from my video, I encourage you to share it with your friends. So thank you very much. I will see you very soon. Sending you lots of kisses. Bye!